What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam and this is Vancity Audi. We got the RS3 back at Rider Performance, not because we have a tune yet for that 855 turbo from the turbo engineers. We're still waiting on that, but we have a new piece of hardware. Just shy of a year and a half ago, TTE sent me a throttle body inlet, a prototype throttle body inlet to use on my RS3 to see how much it would improve the efficiency of the turbo. It did, I think by roughly about 5%. It didn't make any power that I'm aware of, but it made the turbo and the entire car flow and breathe better. What do we have now? We have the actual product from TTE, their brand new to market, billet throttle body inlet. This thing weighs nothing compared to that throttle body inlet that we had a year and a half ago. Wonderfully crafted piece of hardware here. So all we're gonna do in today's video is Kyle is going to uninstall the prototype, then I'll put them side by side and you guys can see the differences, and then he'll install the new throttle body inlet and we'll be ready to rock and roll as soon as that tune comes in from Unitronic. If you didn't happen to see my previous video of the install of this product, here is the TTE prototype throttle body inlet. We installed a tile diverter valve or blow-off valve, however you want to refer to it, as well in that video. And I don't know how well you can see it because it's pretty dark, but we had to cut a hole in the Unitronic air intake to make this fit properly. It was a prototype. We were figuring out the fitment at that time. But what we've been told now from the turbo engineers is this should fit perfectly. So if you're wanting to use this part and you have a Unitronic air intake system, it should fit without any modifications to the box. We're gonna test that out today. So Kyle's removed the Unitronic air box. This is what it looks like with that big void, and now he is going to remove the tile diverter valve and eventually get to taking off this manifold as well to remove this TTE throttle body inlet. Intake manifold has been completely removed, exposing all the goodness. Clearly see down and around. Now for the next step of this uninstall before we get to the install. Kyle has completely removed everything from the car and the throttle body inlet is by itself now. This is the prototype. This is the one that we originally got from TTE, and this is the new model. There they are side by side. You can see that there's a slightly different angle. This comes out further than this. This is at a different angle as well. On the other side of things, I doubt you're gonna be able to see it because it's too dark in there. But this, on the new side, is much smoother and is going to allow for better airflow than the prototype unit where it's rigid. And like I mentioned before, the unit is lighter than the prototype. But overall, it's pretty damn close to what we were using before. There it is, the other angle for you guys. So now Kyle's gonna put this all back together, connect it back onto the manifold and pop on the diverter valve and get it back in the car. Kyle has glued the manifold back down with sealant and he's installed this new throttle body inlet. It looks really good. The fitment looks great. Different positioning. This is over more and tilted up. We're hoping that it can clear the intake box. But what we've noticed is we can't plug this into the map sensor anymore. It's so taut, like the angle that it's at, we can't do it without like stressing this beyond what we think is safe. So Kyle's gonna actually take this apart and extend these lines. We'll tuck it underneath the blow-off valve so it's not in the way and it's easier to disconnect in the future. So Kyle cut the wires and now he's adding some additional length and soldering them together so we don't have to worry about the map sensor ever getting unplugged or being difficult to disconnect. Now that Kyle's done soldering, he is heating up the shrink wrap to make it all nice and neat. He's finished it all up, he's taped it all, so now it is all secured and it's not going to be disturbed. Now we're gonna wrap it underneath here and plug it into the map sensor. Much, much better now. It runs underneath. It's got a little bit of give to it, so it's not crazy taut. He's redone these wires, put that underneath, so it just looks a lot better, not pulling on anything. Time to put on the air intake and finish this install. So Kyle installed the majority of the intake, and we were kind of under the impression that it would fit this uni box without any modification, and I hope you guys can see that. It's still inside the uni airbox. So the only thing that Kyle and I can think of is maybe the newer ones are positioned closer to the driver side. This is one of the original Unitronic intakes that we got way back when they first started making them. You guys can see that it still sticks pretty much inside the airbox. So yeah, not sure what to tell you guys. I thought, or I was under the impression that you'd be able to run the uni box without modifying it with this tile diverter, but not sure that you can. So we thought we were in the clear, but we weren't. We could not put the front part of the intake on because it's hitting the throttle body inlet now. So the only thing Kyle and I can think of is I use upgraded trans mounts as well as engine mounts from BFI, the stage 2 setup. So there is a possibility that the motor is shifted slightly this way or maybe slightly forward, but if we were to put this on the way it is, it's fully in contact with the throttle body inlet, and that does not work for us. So what we're gonna try to do is grind this part off and see if we can pull this forward, enabling us to have enough room here that it doesn't touch anymore. So we went with option number 1. We got rid of this. It definitely gave us more space. Dun dun dun. It still freaking touches. So we're gonna think about it for a sec, but I'm a little worried that we might end up having to cut this like we cut this to make it fit in the first place. So we don't really have a choice anymore. If we want to make this fit, Kyle's gonna have to cut out a little notch here. So back to square one, cutting my beautiful Unitronic air intake system. We're all done, folks. We finished it up. We had to make some modifications. We cut that hole in the bottom down there. You can't really see it right now. Let me give you some light. So you can see how we took just enough off so it isn't rubbing, it isn't touching anymore. I don't think that my motor moves a heck of a lot anymore with those upgraded mounts, but we didn't want to take any chances with bashing into the intake and cracking it or anything. The only other idea that we have is possibly my IROS spacer is thicker than the OEM piece that goes in here, and maybe that's another reason why this is being pushed further to the driver's side, which is why it's making contact with the air intake. We're not 100% sure, but from what I understand, like I said, guys, I think this is meant to fit the uni air box, but because I've done other modifications, that could be why it didn't work for us. Well, that wraps it up here at Ryder Performance. Thank you so much to Kyle for the install, and I don't know what to tell you guys. I thought it was going to fit without further modification. I'm extremely happy to be using their production piece now, hopefully get a smidge more performance over their prototype, but I did not think we were going to have to modify the Unitronic air intake even further than it was before. The three things I can think of that are different from my car compared to the general population is I have the upgraded engine and trans mounts, may have shifted the engine slightly. I have a IROS spacer that I use, which might be thicker than the OEM piece, and my Unitronic intake is from when they first launched it. I want to say 2019. So they may have updated it slightly, maybe move the box over in newer editions. I'm not 100% sure. I'm just sharing with you guys my feedback. I don't know what to say. I thought it was going to fit without modification, and it doesn't for me. I feel like they've already sold a bunch of units to people, and they have not said a thing on Facebook or the forums, so I'm assuming it's one of those reasons why mine didn't fit without having to modify it more. But really excited to test out another new part, have the production piece rather than the prototype. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and until next time, take care.